Hello, everyone. We had left off last week in our Bible study. We had actually, we were not here on Saturday to go over the Old Testament. And that has been for 2 weeks now. We had left off in the Old Testament in the book of Isaiah in the 65th chapter, chapter 65. And we're picking up there on today. We have 2 more chapters remaining to close out here in Isaiah. But picking up where we left off there, I'm going to start in the first verse.
You're on YouTube?
Both.
It's not showing up.
Um,
Maybe it's me?
it's got to be you.
Okay.
How you doing, Golden Boy? So right now, it's been said that it's not showing. But right now, someone's going to be checking out to see if there's anything going on YouTube. However, it doesn't look like there's a problem. So we'll go ahead and continue here. We are in the 65th chapter of Isaiah. And we had left off, we had completed the 64th chapter and picking up at 65. We had began the first few verses. I'm kind of going to go back and pick up again where we had left off, but touch on a little bit of that first verse so that everybody is able to understand where we are as we close out this particular book. But the 65th chapter, 6:5 chapter of Isaiah, starting the first verse. I am sought of them that asked not for me. I'm sought of them that ask not for me. 1 second. Can you let them know to turn that down? We can hear that out here. The first verse, I am sought of them that asked not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. Here we see the Creator. And the Creator is actually saying that people looked for him or found him that did not ask for him. I'm sought of them that asked not for me. And I am found of them that sought me not. Again, indicating individuals that weren't looking for him, but they found him. They came across knowledge of him. And quite frankly, what this is saying, let's think about what's the name of an individual who we know came into the knowledge of the one that Israel served that was not looking for him? What's the name of one individual that we know of that came across the knowledge of the one that Israel served that was not looking for him? What about Rahab? The woman who was in Jericho. She herself was an harlot. She was not looking for the one that Israel served to serve him, but she was in a situation where Israel was coming to destroy the city that she dwelt in the city of Jericho. But as the story unfolds, she and her family survives what ends up happening to Jericho, and she herself becomes a servant of the one that Israel served. Besides Rahab, there was another by the name of Ruth. Ruth was an individual who was the daughter-in-law of Naomi. She was not looking for the one that Israel served. She had simply married into the family. Her husband died, and Naomi didn't have any other children, but she said that she's not going to leave. She's going to remain. And this is understanding of the first verse of Isaiah, where he said, I'm sought of them that ask not for me. It's not just Rahab. It's not just Ruth that experienced this. But there's several individuals out of different nations and groups of people that came across knowledge of the one that Israel served and began to serve him. If we look in the book of Romans, in the 10th chapter of Romans, in the book of Romans, in the 10th chapter of Romans, you'll see Paul saying here in the 11th verse, for the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. Whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. For the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. Now, I've said we're reading right now out of the King James Version. However, we know that there are many versions of the scripture, and I want to make it known that we're reading out of this version so that everybody understands what version we're using. But we do know that according to the individuals that lived in that time period, they did not refer to the entities at that time the way that we're referring to them here in King James. So I want that to be known as we continue to go forward. But we're talking about, I use the term creator, and I use the term his son. Paul is saying that the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. And individuals that were not Israelites came into the knowledge of the one that the Israelites claimed to serve, and they themselves would find that they would not be ashamed to serve him. In Ezekiel 18:4, he said, all souls are his, indicating that he himself is the creator. And in the 12th verse, going back to Romans 10th chapter, there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. For the same Lord, master, I'll say creator, over all is rich unto all that call upon him. If you go down to the 13th verse, for whosoever means just that. Any nationality, any race, any ethnicity, anybody, anywhere, in any generation, in any era, in any geographical location that calls upon the name of the Creator shall be saved. Not saved meaning receiving or being born again, but saved meaning from eternal destruction in the afterlife. There's many, many, many people, I've said this time and time again, that will be saved from eternal damnation that will not have received the new birth. This is indicating individuals being saved from eternal damnation in the 13th verse. In the 14th verse, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And as we look at Isaiah in the first verse of the 65th chapter, I'm sought of them that ask not for me. Well, Paul said, how shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? So when the Israelites was coming through Jericho, did Rahab call on the name of the one that Israel served? Or would she have called on the God or the entity that she knew, which was a false God? She would not have known the name of, and she would not have called on the one that Israel served if she did not know him. So Paul is asking a simple question. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? How are you going to call on somebody and you don't believe in that entity? And again, this scripture, this volume uses the term God. So let's use that term in describing who it is that we're talking about in that context. If we're talking about a being referred to as people by God, well, how can you call on that God if you don't know who that God is? This is what Paul is saying. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? How shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? So people of the land back then with the Israelites, you had the Egyptians believing in their gods, their false gods, their idols, but they did not know they were false. Israelites, even prior to that, we see Jacob go to his uncle Laban's house where he stayed tent dwelling. And we see here's a brother of Isaac who is involved in idolatry. But does he see it as idolatry? Or does he really believe that this is an image of what the God that he serves looked like? And this was very prevalent. This was very common in that time, that people would have idols to, for them, represent the so-called God that they served. Well, with that in mind, here in Isaiah, the one true God, the creator, he says, I am sought of them that ask not for me. I'm found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me. Behold me. Look at me. Call on me. See me. He said, I said those things unto a nation that was not called by my name. A nation that was not called by his name. He said he reached out to them. Behold me. And we see that individuals of different nations did. Look at the Psalms. Look at the 22nd Psalm. And in the 22nd Psalm, read down to the 27th verse. Psalms 22 and 27. All the ends of the world, all the ends of the world shall remember. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. All the kindreds of the nations, all the people of all the nations shall worship before thee. For the kingdom is the Lord's. And he is the governor among the nations. So who is it that rules the nations? Who is it that runs the nations? Who's above the nations? All the nations of mankind.
Presidents.
According to what it's saying here. For the kingdom is whose? The Lord's. Not kings, not queens, not presidents. The kingdom is the Lord's. Meaning, what is the kingdom that David is talking about? The kingdom of men. Going back to Genesis, first chapter. He said, let us make man. And where was man placed? On this planet, we refer to as a planet, and the dry ground he called earth is now where man was placed. This is a kingdom of men and women born into this world. And the governor, the one who runs it, operates it, maintains it, looks after it, is the creator. Again, going back to the 65th chapter of Isaiah, he's saying, I was found of them that sought me not. I told them to behold me, behold me. Now, this is an issue because when it comes to the Israelites, there was a statement made in the New Testament that individuals coming into the knowledge of the gospel would need to be circumcised. Now, we'll cover all of this later, but all of that has to do with this. Why would they need to be circumcised? Because he's not your God, he's our God. And he has given us things to do to show him that we are in service to him, that we're going to walk before him. That thing was circumcision. Now, the problem here is in Isaiah, it doesn't mention anything about a circumcision. And he said that he told a nation that was not called by his name to behold him. And if that's the case, he's reaching out to other nations. Well, if we look at this, look at the first book of Kings. In the first book of Kings and the 12th chapter, in the first book of Kings and the 12th chapter, look at the 25th verse. The 25th verse. Then Jeroboam built Shechem and Mount Ephraim and dwelt therein, and went out from thence and built Peniel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. Jeroboam is now king. But this is after the split happened in Israel, where all the other tribes left the tribe of Judah after Solomon disobeyed the Creator. Jeroboam, now king, says in the 27th verse, if this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, if they go up to the temple, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord. Now, their Lord in this sense is not the Lord. Remember the 110th Psalm, David said, the Lord said unto, or my Lord, indicating two different Lords. And this is why I say we don't apply that term to the Creator, because there's nobody that's equal or level to the Creator. So if you can call someone your Lord, then should we refer to him as the Lord? We need to refer to him as his own entity in his own right, as something that you cannot call anybody else. Again, this is just more understanding. But look back at the first book of Kings, 12th chapter, and now in the 27th verse, he said, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Lord, talking about Rehoboam, not the king of all of the other tribes of Israel himself, but Rehoboam, who's over Judah, even unto Rehoboam, king of Judah. And they shall kill me and go again to Rehoboam, king of Judah. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Don't go up there. Stay here. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And he set the one in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. The Israelites were worshiping golden calves. Again, this is what Isaiah is referring back to. So how is it that we're in Isaiah and yet we're reading from the book of Kings? Because of these events that Isaiah is referring to is what put the Israelites in the situation that they're now in Babylon. If you continue reading here, it says in the 31st verse, and he made in the house of high places and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. So he continues doing worse and worse and worse. And the people of Israel, instead of them listening and obeying and following and adhering to the commandments, they're doing what the king is leading the people to do, which is to go against the Creator. Now, all of that said, look at the 2nd chapter of Hosea. The 2nd chapter of Hosea. In the 2nd chapter, look at the 1st verse. Say ye unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sisters, Ruama. Plead with your mother. Plead. Look at what he says. For she is not my wife. Neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. What in the world are we talking about right now? Israel was like these other nations that were not serving the Creator. Isaiah 1st verse 65th chapter is referencing these events that Israel did. And here he plainly says, plead with your mother. You know she's your mother. But he also says, she is not my wife. Neither am I her husband. This is not good. This is bad. Look at the fourth verse. And I will not have mercy upon her children, for they be the children of whoredoms. What man wants to take care of children that were born by his wife, but they're not his? When we look at the Creator, what he's saying, I called and I made someone my own. They left me and went out. And look at what he says in the fourth verse. They be the children of whoredoms. Did he cheat on her, or did she cheat on him? If she cheated on him, then the children that she had, should he claim? And he says here, they be the children of whoredoms. He's saying they're not mine. Well, what are we talking about? Children who's not serving me, children who's not walking before me, children who's not worshiping me, children who's not obedient to me. We can go back to the 10th chapter of Romans, where Paul said, how are you going to call on him that you've not, or how are you going to believe in him that you've not heard? How are you going to call on someone here, the Creator, but you're not being taught about the Creator? So he's saying plainly, they're not mine. Remember in the 8th chapter of John, and look at the 39th verse. In the 8th chapter of John, sit up and look at the 39th verse. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Now look at the response that he gave when they said this. He said, if ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. If, he said. Then in 41, he said, ye do the deeds of your father. He goes down to the 44th verse, you're of your father, the devil. You're not of my father. You're of someone else. You're of your father. And if you're of your father, then you're not my family. So what we see here is in Isaiah, a natural household, and in the New Testament, a spiritual household. In Isaiah, we see a natural household, meaning the children of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Why must we say it that way? Why must we say the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
Better understanding.
Why is that better understanding?
Because that's narrowing the people down to one specific person.
And who's it narrowing down to?
The person you're looking for.
Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Who does that narrow it down to?
No.
It's because it's the order of how it began.
Say that again.
that's the order of how it began, unlike how God introduced himself to those individuals.
But why say Abraham, Isaac, Jacob when it comes to Israel? Why not the descendants of Abraham?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Why not the descendants of Abraham?
Which descendants? Because
Big,
it would-
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
It would be because one of the children, I think it was, I can't remember one of the names, but it was like one child had a bad generation, while the other one had a good one. So you have to be specific.
Well, the descendants wasn't first. It was the original forefathers that were supposed to be first for the descendants to be recognized.
So why say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Because Abraham had more than one child, right?
Mhm.
I think that's what you're trying to say. So if the people of Israel came from Jacob, well, you have to attach Jacob's parent, and then you have to attach his parent. So we began to read the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not the descendants of Abraham. Why? Because the descendants of Abraham includes Ishmael. So you can't say the descendants of Abraham are the children of the Creator that he himself called his son. Because the Creator did not call the descendants of Abraham his son. He called some of the descendants of Abraham his son. Ishmael was not identified by the Creator as being his son. So from Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, now we go down Isaac's side, because Abraham would eventually have more children. Yes?
Mhm.
Through Isaac, you have Jacob and Esau. But the Creator's people are not known by the descendants of Esau. So now you break off of Isaac and go down this chain, Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. From Jacob, you have Israel. The man's name was changed to Israel, and all of his descendants through his sons, not through his daughter. He had a daughter named Dinah. 12 boys, 1 girl. Through the boys, the descendants of Jacob would come Israel. Greetings. Yes, absolutely. We can talk as well. If you want to pull up in the description, there may be a Zoom link. If you click on the Zoom link, you can go to Zoom and speak out, or you can type on YouTube any questions or any statements or additional comments you'd like to make. But absolutely. Someone's saying that they would like to speak with me. So the people of the Creator became known as the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We see in the 8th chapter of John where the Messiah, he's not talking about the Gentiles. Here in the 10th chapter of Romans, Paul is talking about Gentiles when he says plainly, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed, in the 11th verse. In the 8th chapter of John, the Messiah is plainly talking to people and telling them quite blanketly that you are of your father, the devil. And he says this in the 44th verse. But when you look back at 30 and 31, you see as he spake these words, many believed on him. John 8 and 31. Then who is he talking to? The 31st verse says, those Jews which believe on him. He's talking to the Jews that believe on him. And he said, you Jews that believe on me are of your father, the devil. So if they, the Messiah says, are of their father, the devil, then who is the children of the Most High? Is it those that's born by blood? Or is it those that call on, believe in, and walk before him? And this is what we're seeing in the 65th chapter of Isaiah and the first and second verses so far. He said, I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people. But in the first verse, he said, behold, I said, behold me unto a nation that was not called by my name. A nation not called by his name. Oh, no. You're fine. You can speak with me if you want to stay on after the Bible study, or if you go to the information page, the description of our videos, you'll see an email there. We stand for right. You have to spell out for, F-O-R, right, 2024 at gmail.com. And if you email me there, send me your phone number. I have no problem whatsoever. Give me a call and we can talk from there. But here we see the Messiah talked to the Jews and said that not all of the Jews, but some of. He said that you are of your father, the devil. So if he's saying this to Jews that believe on him and saying that you are of your father, the devil, then who is of his father? But those who walk before him. And so we see here again in the 65th chapter of Isaiah, in the first verse, behold me was said to nations that were not called by his name. He was welcoming them even at that time. In fact, if you look at the 12th chapter of Exodus, 12th chapter, and look at 43. Exodus 12 and 43. See, there's a big misnomer too. I don't want to go into too much detail. But here in the 12th chapter, there's something that a lot of people say, well, the Israelites were in Egypt for 400 plus years. But that's not the case. They were sojourning for 400 plus years. If you go back to 40, you see now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. But people get that, they take it out of context. They were sojourning. And it says they dwelt in Egypt. But it doesn't say that they dwelt in Egypt for a total of 430 years. They finished their sojourning. The sojourning took 430 years. And I've said before, they were there for about 200 and some years. And we can track that by looking at the genealogy. However, in the 43rd verse, the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. No stranger. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A stranger is a Gentile. You can't eat of the Passover, but if you take the circumcision, now you can be of the Passover. Absolutely. Peace to you too. And I look forward to talking to you. Give me a time, the best time to call. Later this afternoon. I have another meeting at 6, and that might go for about 3 hours. So maybe after 9 tonight, or sometime tomorrow morning, if you prefer. Okay. That said, going through the. Okay. That said, 43 or 44. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. Look at the 49th verse. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. One law for all of Israel and for all of the Gentiles. Absolutely. Looking forward to talking to you. One law for all of Israel and all of the Gentiles. So Paul himself, he stands on this in the 10th chapter of Romans when he said, there is no Greek and there is no Jew. There's no such thing as a separation. There's simply souls. They're simply people. They're simply people who have souls. Some dwell over here, some dwell over here, but all of them, as he said, again, 18th chapter of Ezekiel, 4th verse, all souls are mine. So in Isaiah, some of those souls known as the Israelites that he called his sons, look at the 2nd verse, I've spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good, after their own thoughts. I've stretched out my hand to a rebellious people. What does rebel mean?
Go against.
Is it to go against?
Yes.
Rebel. Rebel. Rebelling does not point to the absence of the Creator. But rebelling is to reject an invitation from the Creator. So if there's an invitation for you to become one of his and you turn that invitation down, you just rebelled against him. If he reach out to you to tell you laws and rules and ordinances, how to walk before him, and you choose not to, you rebelled against him. If he's telling you these things that you can possibly do, but you keep choosing to not, you're rebelling against him. The invitation is there. You're not accepting invitation. That's rebelling. Look at Proverbs, 1st chapter of Proverbs. In the 1st chapter of Proverbs, look at the 22nd verse. Now, the 7th verse tells us the fear of the Creator of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. It's a foolish thing to turn down an invitation from the Creator. He says in 22, how long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. How long will you continue to resist and rebel against my invitation? My invitation is so that I can bless you. My invitation is so that I can build you up. My invitation is to do a whole lot of things that's going to be good for you. It's going to benefit you. It's going to increase you. He says in the 23rd verse, turn you at my reproof. If I reprove you, don't turn and run away, but turn back towards me. And this is the purpose of discipline. When he disciplines, it's not to chase you away from him. That's why he said, I chastise, the Lord chastise whom he love, not who he hate. The chastisement is to get you to turn from sin. The discipline is to get us to turn from wrongdoing. Here in Isaiah 65, to have Israel in captivity is to get them to turn back to him. He says, Proverbs 1:23, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. I've called and I've called and I've called, but you wouldn't come. It's the same as a parent calling for their child to come in for dinner, come in to eat. They didn't come. They're now hungry. They missed dinner. Dinner's over. Everything's in the kitchen being pushed to the back of the cupboard after the dishes are washed and dried. No more leftovers. Child come running in. Can I get something to eat? You missed dinner. You missed it. Now, is it the parent's fault that you didn't come in? Is it the Creator's fault that you didn't take him up on his offer? No, you missed out. He said, I've called and called, you refused. I stretched out my hand and no man regarded. 25, but ye have set at naught all my counsel and would none of my reproof. And because you did not come, because you chose to not obey, you chose to not do what I told you, you chose to rebel and reject my invitation. He said, 26, I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, I will mock you. He said, then shall they call upon me, but I'm not going to answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. And this is why Israel is in Babylon in the 65th chapter of Isaiah. So why is Isaiah saying all of this? Because it's the desire of the Creator that they don't turn back. And so he says in the second verse, I've spread out my hands all the day to a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good after their own thoughts. Third verse, a people that provoketh me to anger continually to my face, that sacrificeth in gardens and burneth incense upon altars of brick. When did you see the Creator send somebody to build an altar of brick? Where do you see the Creator sending someone to build a brick altar. Is it okay for us to offer on a brick altar? You may say yes. But the problem is the Creator didn't say that. The Creator didn't say to offer on a brick altar. The Creator said offer on his altar. His altar was not made of bricks. His altar was not in gardens. The altars that are found in gardens are the altars of the wicked one, the altars of idols, the altars of false gods. And if you're offering on those altars, then those people, you're not offering unto me. I'm not accepting what you put on those altars. That's not what I told you to do. So once again, we're being disobedient here. And am I supposed to accept what it is that you, all of a sudden now you want to give to me, but you're not even giving it the way that I told you to give it. You're not even offering it the way that I'm telling you to offer it. So is it a sincere offering if you're not offering it the way that I told you to offer it? You borrow my car, take care of it, bring it back just as clean as you got it. And you bring it back with a dent and dirt and trash all inside. Potato chip bags, soda cans, splattered soda on the seats, crumbs, chips, and cookie crumbs all over the floor. Sticky, gooey stuff from candy that you can't. Are you serious? This is not what I said. Are you sincerely obeying me to give me something that I didn't ask for? This is what Israel did. In the third verse, a people that provoke me. You're angering me. You're not walking in my ways. You're angering. And he went on to say in the fourth verse, which remain among the graves, burning incense upon altars of brick, sacrificing in gardens, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments. How are you serving me if you're remaining among the graves? Who is it that's serving anything or offering anything, but you're amongst the graves? You're obviously serving false gods. Now, mind you, I said before, to serve a false god or idolatry, you're really dealing with a devil, a demon. And the bottom line, you're talking about false gods that are fallen angels who wanted the servitude of man. And all of those things that the people were doing were really, really going further and further and further away from the Creator, because these devils and demons and fallen angels had the people doing things that he detested. When you look at the book of Leviticus, the 11th chapter of Leviticus and the 7th verse, the 11th chapter of Leviticus, in the 11th chapter and the 7th verse, we see, and the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Now, we're not picking on pigs today, but the swine was mentioned in the list of unclean animals in the 11th chapter of Leviticus, as well as Leviticus, I believe it's 19. In the 11th chapter of Leviticus, and in the 19th chapter of Leviticus, you will see personal laws that even go back to 18. And amongst the personal laws of the Israelites, they could not eat certain foods. Certain foods was abominable, worse than sin. One of those foods was pig. Why am I talking about pigs? Because during the holy celebration of these idols, just like Israel would have feast days, Israel had food that was told to them to prepare and to eat during your holy, solemn assemblies. Well, just like Israel, the wicked one and devils and demons, they too would have people serving them have feast days and celebrate their beliefs as well. And those feasts would incorporate food that was unclean to the Israelites. Those feasts would involve food that was abominable. So one of the party favors was a pig that had been roasted, and it would be put out on a platter, apple in its mouth, vegetables all around it. Now, there's a bunch of other unclean foods. A bunch of other food is abominable. For those who don't know, shrimp, lobster, crab, oyster, clams, catfish, shark. There's a lot of food in the ocean that the scripture names as unclean, that the Israelites never ate. Going into the New Testament, we see more language about food. Today, there's a lot of people that understand New Testament teaching. As we go back to Isaiah 65, the understanding is that the people of Israel had begun to do things that the nations around them were doing, including eating different foods, at different feasts and meals that really involved celebrations. The celebrations were to celebrate and honor the false gods. And the false gods, these devils, would have the people doing things that he hated, the Creator hated. So when we talk about in the graves and in the gardens, it was pleasant to the eyes for people to see this. We see today a lot of people having dinner parties, not inside around the table, but outside in tents or the open sky around gardens. A lot of this happened to celebrate the honor of, again, false gods and images that the people would use. But the pig would be honored and celebrated because it would eat anything. Same thing with the animals of the ocean that was considered abominable and unclean. These would be scavengers. So again, talking about catfish, talking about lobsters and shrimp. These are scavenger eaters. They eat whatever's left. Now, when you're looking at those things, the Creator detested it, and he wanted his people to have nothing to do with it. Look at this further. He said in the 4th verse, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh and broth of abominable things is in their vessels. It was intentional for the people in those areas to do things as they were led by evil spirits and devils and demons, as they were led to include things in their feasts that the Creator hated. And if Israel got attached to these nations and started doing these things, well, then they themselves would become unclean in the eyes of the Creator. Well, they continued doing this time and time and time again until he had had enough. Here in the 5th verse, which say, the ones who's eating these things, Stand by thyself. Come not near to me, for I'm holier than thou. How can you say to others that you're holier than they if they are obedient to the word and the law that came from the lawgiver, but you are not obedient to the word or the law? How can you tell anybody else, depart from me because you're unclean? And this person is doing what the law says. This person is doing what the word says, but you're not. How can you tell them? In the book of Luke, I think this is, the 5th verse. In the book of Luke, look at the 18th chapter. Luke 18. And look at 10. Luke 18 and 10. Two men went up into the temple to pray. The one a Pharisee and the other a publican. 11. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus within himself: God, I thank thee that I'm not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this old filthy publican. He says, I'm not as others. 12th verse, I fast twice a week. I give tithes of everything that I possess. 13. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but he smote upon his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. This was a Pharisee who should have known better to look down on anybody. But he's a Pharisee, and his lot in life is to serve the people, but from a position where you're over the people. I'm serving you, supposedly, but I'm in a position of authority over you. And a lot of these individuals, because of a position of authority, look down on the Israelites, look down on a lot of others. And this Pharisee said, I'm not like this man, a publican. I'm not like him. Better than. Well, here in the 5th verse, he said, now these are the ones who say, don't come near me. I'm holier than you are. Now, the Creator said, these right here, these types of people, these are a smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day. It's not extinguished. It's not put out. Burns and burns and burns throughout the day. That person just constantly throughout the day. And yes. And as a result, he becomes detestable to the Creator. I don't like, he's saying, seeing people who think they're better than other people. The Creator said, I don't like seeing people who think they're better than other people. Every man and woman born into this world, we're born bringing nothing. Every man, woman, boy, and girl. If you were to step back a moment and then step back up once again, this is the one thing where we're all equal when it comes to the law that was given to Moses for all the Israelites to abide by. And when it comes to that one thing, the Creator is saying nobody's better than anybody. All of you are born into the world with nothing. All of you are going to leave the world with nothing. The equalizer in it all is the law. And the law is to be applied to everyone equally. But people look at people differently, and we judge each other differently. But the scripture tells us the Creator has no respect of persons. So who is this person to look down on that person, especially if this person is breaking his laws? So how can a lawbreaker be holier than somebody who's abiding by the law? And this is what is bothersome to the Creator when he says, these are smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day. 65th chapter of Isaiah, 5th verse. Then look at 6. Behold, it is written before me, I will not keep silence, but will recompense, even recompense into their bosom your iniquities and the iniquities of your fathers together, which have burned incense upon the mountains, and the iniquities of your fathers together, saith the Lord, which have burned incense upon the mountains and blaspheme me upon the hills. Therefore will I measure their former work into their bosom. I'm not going to exempt it. I'm not going to excuse it. I'm not going to let it go. You will not get by. I'm holding you accountable. Why? I pleaded and pleaded and pleaded. All I want to do is bless you. All I want to do is take care of you. All I want to do is provide for you. All I want to do is cause you to increase. But they kept stepping back into idol worship until eventually enough is enough. Here, if we go to the 8th verse, thus saith the Lord, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one saith, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it, so will I do for my servants' sakes, that I may not destroy them all. What is he talking about? Israel in bondage. I put them back in bondage because I brought them out of bondage, and they just went plumb haywire, plumb crazy. Now, some people will say, no, it's all good. These territories, they're golden. They're getting along. The citizens out here. All of these individuals, whether they're Israelites that have been a part of the disobedience or their descendants. Remember, we talked about before why the Israelites would be in bondage for so long. I said it was the same reason why they wandered in the wilderness. Why did they wander in the wilderness for 40 years? To kill them all off. All of the ones that were part of the complaining and the whining and the bickering about why you brought us out of Egypt. Did you bring us out here to kill us? We're suffering out here, no water, nothing to drink. And now that you fed us, we would like meat. We're done with this. I don't want this all day, every day. But you're not starving. And to complain about what has been provided by the Creator is a problem. Let's continue. The 8th verse, as the new wine is found in the cluster. The new wine. He's not looking for the old wine. He's not looking for the ones from the past. He's not looking for the forefathers to turn around anymore. He's allowing them to die off. And what is he going to work with?
The next generation.
The next generation. I'll deal with them. Why? Because they had nothing to do with all this. I will take them. I will build them. I will exalt them. I will raise them. And they will be grateful. And this is what it is that we're seeing in the 65th chapter, while he's preparing to bring the Israelites out. Here, he continues and say, so will I do for my servant's sake, that I may not destroy them all. Isn't that what he said in Mount Sinai? Moses, step back. Still step back. Moses, he begged, pleaded. And the scripture does not tell us how long, but he begged and pleaded. And how long do we expect the Creator to beg and plead? Moses begged and pleaded. The people still saw his power, all these things, what he did to come through. So he says, instead of me continuing to tolerate all of this, I'm just going to use your children. And the wisdom is to allow the people to have marriages and have children that's kept that mindset going on and on and on and on and on into the future. How many generations later? In captivity, the Creator wanted the Israelites to consider, and as they saw 70 years go by and their mothers and fathers dying in captivity, he wanted them to consider, when I bring y'all out, should you go back to disobeying him? Should you go back to disobeying the Father, the Creator? All he wants to do is bless them. So we see, as he's preparing to bless them, he's reminding them. Look at the 9th verse. After he says, so will I do for my servants' sakes, that I may not destroy them all. And I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob and out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. As we go forward, we see them back off a little bit of the idea of the disbelievers, the idea of the disobedient, the idea of the rebellious. He backs off and he says, I'm still going to bring out a people of this number, and I'm going to have my own use. I'm going to have my own purpose. He says, I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob and out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains, and mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. And Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down in, for my people that have sought me. I'm even now preparing to bless, to bless, to bless. while others may not be thinking anything at all. But he's preparing to bless them, to give to them, to bring about an increase for them. And as I'm telling you these things, Israel, it's for you all to remember it, take it to heart. He goes on to say, in the 10th verse, Sharon shall be a fold of flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to lie down in, for my people that have sought me. 11, but ye are they that forsake the Lord. Right back again. I'm trying to prepare for something good. I'm trying to bless. I'm trying to give. And I know what I'm going to do. But here's that reminder one more time. But think about this one more time. As he continues, ye are they that forsake the Lord, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number. This is not what it was he's looking for. Look at the 12th chapter of Jeremiah. 12th chapter of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 12. This is the 11th verse of Isaiah 65. And I'm sorry, not 12th chapter. Look at the 18th chapter. '18th chapter of Jeremiah. Now look at the 12th verse. And they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will every one do the imagination of his evil heart. We're going to stop. We're going to do this. We're going to move over here, and we don't want nothing to do with y'all. We'll make up our own clone. We'll make up all types of things to remember the set by. For people who want to look back and see all the errors, all the mistakes, all those individuals that's going to come forward out of captivity. The idea is for them to reflect and remember all of this. Look at what it says in Jeremiah 18 and 12. They said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will everyone do the imagination of his evil heart. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, ask ye now among the heathen, who hath heard such things. The Virgin of Israel hath done a very horrible thing. Will a man leave the snow of Lebanon, which cometh from the rock of the field? Or shall the cold flowing waters that come from another place be forsaken? Because my people hath forgotten me, they have burnt incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up. Look at what he says in the 17th verse. I will scatter them as with an east wind before the enemy. I will show them the back and not the face in the day of their calamity. When you need help, do not call on me, is what he's saying. Out of all these things, don't call me. Look at Judges. The book of Judges. In the 21st chapter. the 21st chapter. Look at the 25th verse. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. They had been warned in the 12th chapter of Deuteronomy not to do this. In the 12th chapter of Deuteronomy, and look at the 28th verse. Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee forever, when thou doest that which is good and right in the sight of the Lord thy God. Now, observe and hear all these words, and it will go well with you. But that's not what they did. Now look at still in the 12th chapter, but look at the 8th verse. Ye shall not do after all the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right, but in his own eyes. So if there's a law, but you're doing whatever you feel is right, well, is this going to please the Creator or upset the Creator?
Upset.
It's going to upset the Creator. And here you go again in back in the 65th chapter of Isaiah, in the 11th verse. But ye are they that forsake the Lord, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that truth, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number. You're serving the ones that I'm against. You're sitting with the ones that I tell you not to sit with. You're associating yourselves with the ones I tell you not to associate with. And no two people, are they going to get up one second. Okay. Those that forsake the Lord in the 11th verse, that forget his holy mountain, prepare a table for that truth, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number. You're serving the individual that he say not to serve. You're dealing with people that he don't want you to deal with, and consorting with people that go against his ways, which is why he said, come out from among them and be ye what? Separate. Keep yourselves separate. Look at the 12th verse. We'll get ready to close out after the 12th verse, and we'll try to finish the rest of this next week. But the 12th verse, therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I called, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear. If you are not asked, told, led, moved, directed, commanded, or ordered to do something by the Creator or the Father, then stand still and wait. He'll move on somebody to do something. And this is where Jeremiah came in. This is where Isaiah came in. And at the use of these men, the entire structure of Israel would come collapsing in, and they would find themselves now in captivity in Babylon, with one tribe of Israel not in captivity. And anybody remember who that is?
Judah.
Judah. Judah is not in captivity.
It's 434.
Judah is still free, and all the other Israelites suffering at the hand of whatever the Creator wants them to suffer. So again, we're about to close this out, but we needed to understand why Isaiah is going back and talking about the things that he's talking about. We needed to understand why Isaiah is bringing up these things where the Creator is saying these things about different people, different nationalities and ethnicities. For those who are saying, well, it wasn't for them at that time. But we read today that he said there should be one law for you and them. We read that today. In fact, when we're looking at back in the beginning, one more verse reference. Back in the beginning, where he's talking about what he's discovered, what he's observed, people coming to him that he didn't reach out to, people finding him who wasn't looking for him. But the ones who claimed that they did, the ones who claimed to be serving him, walking before him, looking for him, the ones who claim to be his people, they're doing the exact opposite. And in Ephesians, where he talked about, again, the people that's coming into the knowledge of him, in Ephesians, look at Ephesians, the epistle written to the Ephesians. Okay. In the book of Ephesians, or the epistle of Ephesians, look at the 2nd chapter. And you hath he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins. Look at this carefully. You hath he quickened. You. Well, who's you? Not Jews, not Israelites. Ephesians. Ephesians. You hath he quickened. And these are Gentiles. Paul's opening up. He quickened you, who were dead in trespasses and sins. Of course they were dead because they were Gentiles. They're serving idols. They're serving false gods. Even when you talk about the false god named Diana that Paul spoke against. Various times the disciples would come into the company of Paul. Paul would come into the company of them. And they're trying to share and show that we're in this thing together. Again, no big I's, no little U's. If you're a believer, I'm a believer. I'm a believer, you're a believer. We are in this together. The priests wanted to try to exercise dominion over the people by placing them once again under circumcision. But this is the important takeaway from that. They were not to be circumcised. And they were not to be circumcised because they're not to be placed under the governance or the authority of the temple priests. The whole thing is about to come down. The whole thing is about to come down. What do we mean by that? If you don't trust in the one that we need to trust in, when the time of your calamity we read earlier happens, he said he's going to mock you. But what about those issues? What about those problems, when we look at things a little bit differently, then we can easily find what his will is. But in order to see his will, we have to look at things differently. Look at what he said in the second verse of the second chapter of Ephesians. Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. That used to be you all, Paul is saying. It used to be them. Look at the 11th verse. Wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, even in this day and age, even in this time, here, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience in the second verse. When you go back to the 11th verse, this is what you were in the past. Being in time past, Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Israelites looking down on you because you're not an Israelite is a problem for the Creator, especially when the Israelite themselves was not doing what the Creator said. And when you have a Gentile doing what the Creator said, then no wonder Paul said that it is not a Jew who is a Jew outwardly. Neither is he a Gentile who, according to what we've seen in the scripture, he's one, though a believer is the point that Paul is making. He's one, though he was of the temple, though he was a part of the temple, though he had the temple authority given to him by the high priest to go after the believers. Paul was himself converted. Paul himself became a believer. Paul is now out here teaching and witnessing and preaching on behalf of the Messiah, and he's making it plain to a group of Gentiles to not look at the fact that you are not born in the house of Jacob. So he said it's not a Jew who's one outwardly, but a Jew who is one inwardly. And not just by the color of their skin, but how they treat one another, not just by how we talk about diversity with nationalities and ethnicities and geographical locations, because now what boundaries are there? If any nationality can come and serve, if any ethnicity can come and serve, if any race can come and serve, truly, what boundaries are in Israel anymore? And if they don't have any boundaries between the Jew and the Gentile, well, then obviously what Paul is saying is that he reached out and he can do with them what he had wanted to and planned on doing with you, Israel, but you messed up. And you connected and you took part in and you fellowship with and you became affiliated with individuals doing things that goes against the one that we serve. And he told them already not to mingle, because if you do, There's going to be consequences. The believer is not to mingle with the unbeliever, with the exception of trying to gain the unbeliever. In the 65th chapter of Isaiah, the point Isaiah was making is y'all was out here doing all kinds of stuff with the unbeliever and with idol worshipers. Therefore, it is concluded that you weren't there to change them. You weren't there to persuade them to serve the one almighty creator. You're not there to turn them towards him. Now you're out there doing everything that they're doing. And this would be upsetting or pleasing to the creator. Here, as we close out, remember we talked about in the 11th verse, in the 2nd chapter of Ephesians, going into the 12th verse. Again, 11. Wherefore remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, were called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. How is the world without the Creator? How is the world without the Creator? The world is without the Creator by their disobedience and walking in ways contrary to what he said. And this is where he goes into the 13th verse. But now in Christ Jesus, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. You were once put off by the Creator. Now you're invited in. Back in the 65th chapter of Isaiah, we can conclude by saying, these are the ones where he's saying, behold me. Behold me. And when he gets a group of Gentiles that's beholding him and seeing him for who he is and what he is, and they begin to walk before him, then is it very much possible that these Gentiles might take the place of the Israelites?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case? Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Yes. And so the Messiah talked about the feast in the last day, in the afterlife. He talked about how many are going to come from east and west and desire to eat at his Father's table. Not going to be able to. It's too late. Well, we're grateful today that it's not too late. We're grateful today that there's individuals who's looking for knowledge, looking for wisdom, looking for understanding. And we're grateful today that our Father is granting understanding so that we can grab it and then take that understanding and run with it while sharing it with others, with the hope that they too will come into the knowledge of understanding. And as we go forward, we want to be grateful that he has blessed us with this same opportunity in this day, 2026. with that said, are there any questions or any comments or anything that anybody would like to add or touch on before we close out? Going once. Going twice. We'll pick up here at the 12th and 13th verses of the 65th chapter of Isaiah on next Saturday. In the meantime, we will be back, if it is our Father's will, on tomorrow at 3 o'clock, same time, as we prepare to once again go back to the book of Luke. At this time, if there's nothing else, nothing further, we're grateful for all of you who was able to attend and join in with us today. We hope that you enjoyed. We hope that you had gotten something out of this scripture as far as learning, so that we can apply these lessons as well as understand why others do what it is that they do. The bottom line today is we shouldn't be focused on anybody other than ourselves, because we only have ourselves that we can truly save. With that said, you all take care. Enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. And I hope you have an enjoyable remainder of your weekend. For those of you who can make it on tomorrow, we'll see you then at 3. And then for those of you who are able to make it at 6 for the fellowship, we'll see you at that time. Until then, have a good one, everybody.